Hey everybody, Black Ninja 797 here, and welcome back to another episode of Left 4 Dead 2 Myth Busting Mondays. In today's video for the final myth, we are going to be testing if whether or not that we can use a melee weapon to hit or ricochet back a spitter loogie, so that way it hits them instead of us. If you guys end up enjoying today's video and like the sound of the final myth, please drop a like before we take off at the end. Subscribe if you are new, and if you have a myth of your very own that you would like to have be featured in next week's episode, please by all means leave them here in the comment section down below, or also alternatively, you can leave them within my Discord server, which is going to be linked down below in this video's description. And with all that being said, guys, I hope you end up enjoying this week's episode of Myth Busting Mondays. Myth: can the Midnight Riders tour bus run over special infected in versus? Alrighty guys, so myth number 1 is going to be submitted in by Blue Dope. Now, I know this is going to sound a little anticlimactic, guys, but we weren't even able to end up even getting past the fence where the Midnight Riders tour bus spawns in at. There is just an invisible barrier that blocks us from even getting in there. So because of this, the myth is immediately busted because we literally weren't even able to do step 1 in order to get this to work. Myth: can a boomer puke on the Left 4 Dead 1 survivors in the passing? Alrighty guys, myth number 2 is going to be submitted in here by Tyler. So for the second myth here, you guys are going to want to look at the captions for the survivors. As the boomer is puking on everybody, you can see there's some voice lines where the Left 4 Dead 1 survivors are reacting to getting vomited on. And even though it's subtle, you can see puke dripping off of Francis and Lewis and Zoe if you look at them very, very closely, despite the fact they're not covered in the yellow highlights. So based off of all this information, mostly the voice lines since it's hard to see it visually, the myth is confirmed. You can indeed vomit on the Left 4 Dead 1 survivors as a boomer, it just gives no advantage to you because the zombies will not attack them, and also as well, you barely can see it. Myth: will a survivor's dead body disappear after you save them from a rescue closet? Alrighty guys, myth number 3 is going to be submitted in by Glabursko. So we're testing this specifically on Dead Air's finale because there's only one rescue closet within this given chapter, so the moment that we end up respawning Glabursko, we should be able to look right back where we killed him and see if his body disappeared, which it looks like it does. Now, even though this should be, by that logic, immediately confirmed then, right after we end up getting this result, however though, I want to end up mentioning something. In prior episodes, when testing for Myth Busting Mondays, we have done similar myths with rescue closets before, and we ended up getting the opposite result, where the dead body still was there despite the fact that we respawned that player, and there was technically a duplicate body of that survivor. This happened to us as recently as episode 105, where we were trying to see if whether or not you could use a rescue closet that was damaged. Now, unfortunately, I was not able to end up replicating this footage on my PC account because of the fact that this seems more like a glitch and is at random, but I do have footage from way back in the day that you guys are going to find kind of amusing here. What you are currently watching is old as hell footage from 11 years ago, back in 2013, when I was just a kid around 12 or 13 years old playing the 360 version of the game. And you guys can see that Lewis is dead on my screen, but he's also simultaneously alive and walking around. There's 2 of them within my game. And this exact thing can happen randomly sometimes on the PC version of the game still to this day. So I'm going to label this as plausible instead of confirmed because it seems like it happens randomly and not all the time. It's never always going to be busted, it's never always going to be confirmed, it's just whatever the game feels like at that given moment. Myth: can Lewis actually overheat the mounted minigun in the passing finale? Alrighty guys, myth number 4 is going to be submitted in by Zaku. Now, this is a very valid question because in the passing finale, the zombies are equally shot at by all 3 survivors, and Lewis doesn't necessarily have to shoot his minigun all the time. But what if we delete Zoe and Francis, and we also spawn in several tanks on the highest difficulty so that way Lewis has something to always shoot at? If Lewis perceives that the threat is not stopping, he might just shoot endlessly. Or will he, because the minigun might be forced to overheat because he won't let go of the trigger. And if you guys look carefully at the minigun, you will see that it's not turned that orange-red color by now when it would normally end up starting to overheat. And Lewis has been spraying and praying now for about 45 seconds, I would say, and the gun would have definitely stopped shooting by now due to the heat, but it hasn't. So I'm going to assume that the bots get an exception here and they can just spray the minigun infinitely, meaning the myth is busted. Lewis can't overheat the minigun on the passing, he can just shoot the gun forever. Alrighty guys, it's final myth time, and once again the final myth is going to be, with melee weapons, can we hit a spitter loogie back at the spitter, essentially ricocheting her shot, so that way it doesn't hit us? You guys got a prediction on how you think this is going to go? Let me know via the comments down below. But with that being said, let's get on with the final myth. Myth: can you ricochet spitter goo with melee weapons? Alrighty guys, the last myth is going to be submitted by Brian here. So Brian, thank you for submitting not only your first myth, but also submitting in a really cool myth. So this is how we're going to dictate if the final myth is confirmed. We need to see if a spitter loogie will land in front of the survivors and not directly underneath of them where their feet are. Because the AI spitter is basically always going to hit you as long as you're standing still. It's going to be directly underneath of your feet. But if it lands behind you, it's probably most likely a miss. The only way I can imagine that this would be confirmed is that they deliberately missed their shot. And if they missed their shot specifically by having it land within front of you, because it means that the loogie was not able to make it because something got in its way or stopped it. Now, doing this horizontally, even with 4 people that were coordinating, and it was also in slow motion, this was not happening anytime soon. We were just getting extremely unlucky. So I ended up proposing the idea, hey, why don't we instead just shoot the loogie straight up in the air, and if I can hit it that way, I can see it bounce back up into the sky, and then that way we'll know definitively if the myth is confirmed or busted, because if I miss, it will just head straight down at my feet. And unfortunately, even though it would be cool if it didn't, it did land at my feet, which means that it wasn't able to register even though I had my cursor lined up on the loogie with my melee weapon. So even though I don't want to, the myth is unfortunately going to have to be labeled as busted, because regardless if we ended up doing it horizontally, and regardless if we ended up doing it vertically, regardless if my crosshair was perfectly lined up with it because I got it lined up within slow motion and all the stars aligned, nothing ended up working. Here's the thing with Left 4 Dead, is that some things you think should work, do not. Some things that you think shouldn't work, do. And you can never predict which one it's going to be sometimes. I mean, why is it that this doesn't work, but still to this day, if I want to throw a gasoline can at a tank rock, it will destroy and blow up on impact? That makes no sense to me. But it is what it is. But yeah, everybody, that is going to be it here for today's video, and I do truly hope you guys ended up enjoying it. If you did, please consider dropping a like, comment, subscribe, follow, and all that beautiful stuff. And if you guys have a myth of your very own that you would like to have be featured in next week's episode, please, once again, as always, feel free to submit them within the comment section here down below, or also alternatively, you can submit them within my Discord server, which is going to be linked down below in this video's description. But with all that being said, guys, I hope you ended up enjoying seeing another YouTube video from the most unique YouTubers we're ever going to see. Thanks for watching, guys. I love all of you, and peace out.
Hey, meme lords, Jesus here. And you better have enjoyed that video there by the Eternal God Daddy Ninja. You should probably subscribe too, or the mighty Moab will come for your balls. If you enjoyed the video, you might like it too. And give me the memes. Flash, bang, boom!